5 dangerous traits that make seniors to die early and how to avoid all of that. Ignore the next 5 minutes if you want, but it might cost you another decade of life or worse. Take that final stretch of years and transform it into one long hospital stay. Today I'm here to tell you that the most perilous threats to older adults often hide in plain sight. They're not rare genes or freak medical incidents. They're simple patterns that quietly erode your strength, your energy, and your will to live. A single neglected sign can open the door to serious complications like heart trouble or an unexpected emergency that turns ordinary chest pain into something life-threatening. So take a deep breath, because once you recognize these critical warning signals, you might feel alarmed, but it's the kind of jolt that can spark real change. Imagine feeling perfectly fine one day, content in your routine, only to be blindsided by a sudden wave of illness that snatches away your independence. If that prospect terrifies you, good fear can be a powerful motivator, pushing us out of complacency and into active prevention. Once you understand that the smallest hints, a missed call, a sluggish day, an unplanned late night, can serve as advanced signals of bigger risks, your perspective on aging will shift forever. Let me share the story of a patient we'll call Helena, age 78. She was fiercely proud of her independence, confident she could handle most things on her own, and for a while she did. But everything changed when a routine cough spiraled into a full-blown chest infection because she didn't want to bother anyone about her symptoms. By the time her neighbor found her, Helena was gasping for air, barely able to stand, and fearful she was having a heart issue. The doctors diagnosed severe pneumonia, which had strained her cardiovascular system enough to trigger near-constant palpitations. They also discovered she hadn't been eating well, sleeping regularly, or checking her blood pressure. When Helena recovered, she confessed she'd been slowly pulling away from friends, skipping her daily walk, and letting her life revolve around quiet routines that mask growing loneliness. This is not a freak medical tale. It's a real-life illustration of how quickly an older adult's physical health can collapse in the absence of regular check-ins, movement, and emotional engagement. And if you think Helena's story is a fluke, think again. Health professionals see these patterns every day. Sakuturnin, Science and Deep Dive. Now we'll explore 5 critical red flags that older adults often ignore. Each one can chip away at your vitality inch by inch until a sudden event like a stroke or a severe heart flare-up shakes your entire world. Pay attention, because recognizing these patterns might just save your life. 1. Social isolation. When we talk about isolation, many people envision a person who never leaves the house or has zero family contacts. But you can feel isolated even if you see people around you occasionally. The real danger is the lack of meaningful connection. No real conversations, no shared stories, no simple laughter. According to a 2020 study from the World Health Organization, WHO, persistent social disconnection increases the odds of premature mortality in older adults by significant margins. Physiologically, our bodies interpret prolonged isolation as a form of stress. Stress hormones like cortisol stay elevated, undermining immune function, spiking blood pressure, and diminishing mental clarity. Over time, these biological changes can exacerbate minor ailments like a mild cold or a fleeting bout of dizziness into major health crises. Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, 2015, reported that ongoing social isolation in seniors is linked to depression and a higher likelihood of cardiac episodes. In simpler terms, if you're cut off emotionally and physically, you're essentially telling your body to prepare for the worst. Picture yourself alone day in and day out, with no one to notice the shift in your breathing or that subtle tremor in your hands. A minor ache can progress in silence until it becomes a tragedy. That's the cold truth behind the concept of social isolation. When there's no one to share your concerns with, everything that could be addressed early festers and grows. Take Edward, a 77-year-old retired electrician who lived alone after his wife passed away. Neighbors thought he was doing well. He often waved hello and kept a neat lawn, but inside those walls, Edward rarely spoke to anyone. By the time a friend visited, they found him severely dehydrated and with dangerously high blood pressure, which he hadn't monitored in months. If you spot the signs of creeping loneliness, fewer phone calls, skipping social events, or ignoring friendly gestures, take action before the situation worsens. Reach out to local community centers or faith-based groups that often host senior gatherings. Schedule a phone or video chat with someone you trust at least once a week. You can also try a volunteer program. Offering your time is not just about helping others, but also about enriching your own emotional life. Most importantly, consult your physician if you notice significant changes in mood or health. Professional guidance can help you regain your footing. 2. Lack of movement. The second silent assassin of healthy aging is physical inactivity. Everyone knows that exercise is good for you, but not everyone realizes how dangerous it can be to remain sedentary, particularly past age 70. According to Dr. Michael Greger, Nutrition Facts Org 2018, habitual inactivity can speed up degenerative processes that lead to cardiovascular and metabolic disorders. When we're inactive, our muscles shrink, our joints stiffen, and our circulation falters. This decline isn't immediate. It creeps up gradually, convincing you that you're just slowing down because you're getting older. However, there's a substantial difference between natural aging and the accelerated decline triggered by barely moving. Think about how quickly a broken leg loses muscle mass when it's in a cast for weeks. That same principle applies globally to your entire body when you choose the couch over a brisk walk day after day. If you dismiss occasional tiredness or slight mobility issues now, those can escalate into catastrophic results like a fall that fractures your hip or a sudden rise in blood pressure leading to chest pain. A routine flight of stairs becomes a mountain, making you avoid daily tasks and spiral further into immobility. Lack of movement sets you up for a vicious cycle. The more you sit still, the less your body can handle any exertion. Before you know it, you're facing a hospital bed rather than enjoying your free time. Consider Olivia, a 72-year-old office manager who retired and thought, "I've worked hard all my life, now it's time to relax." She replaced her daily errands with endless TV marathons. Within a year, her doctor noticed weight gain, borderline diabetes, and elevated cholesterol levels. Struggling with shortness of breath even on short walks, Olivia realized too late that her inactive days were breaking her body down. Reversing inactivity doesn't require extreme measures. Start small, stand up every hour, take a short walk around the block, or do gentle chair exercises. If you're worried about injury, consult your physician or a physical therapist who can tailor a safe routine. You can even place light hand weights near your couch so you do quick arm curls during commercial breaks. Over time, these little bursts of activity tell your body, "I need you strong," and your heart, lungs, and muscles respond accordingly. 3. Emotional isolation. Emotional isolation might sound like social isolation, but there's a subtle distinction. You can be in a room full of people, yet still feel emotionally isolated, disconnected, or numb. The heart rate might stay high, the blood pressure might fluctuate, and stress levels rise if you don't feel a genuine bond with those around you. The emotional aspect is the difference between a neighbor dropping by for 5 minutes and a loved one who truly listens to your worries. According to a 2016 study in the journal Psychology, aging older adults who experience chronic emotional isolation are at an elevated risk for mood disorders and cardiovascular troubles. When you feel unheard or unloved, your body registers this as a crisis, even if you don't actively sense the stress. In response, your system pumps out hormones that destabilize your emotional state, reduce mental resilience, and weaken the immune system. Over time, the toxic cycle can lead to sleep disruptions, high cortisol, and a weakened ability to recover from minor illnesses. People who don't address this are more prone to serious emergencies such as heart attacks or strokes because the body is perpetually in low-grade stress mode. Think of your emotional reserves as the foundation for handling life's challenges. If that foundation cracks, if you constantly feel unappreciated or invisible, you're more likely to succumb to the first significant physical setback. You might catch a cold that escalates into pneumonia because you're not motivated to go to the doctor or follow up on medication. This is where emotional isolation morphs into a genuine health hazard, capable of shaving years off your life. Walter, age 79, stayed in a retirement community with plenty of neighbors around him, yet he never opened up to anyone. He'd wave politely, but if people tried to engage him in deeper conversation, he'd shrug it off. Eventually, he stopped caring about his nutrition and hydration, which triggered kidney problems requiring hospitalization. The antidote to emotional detachment is often courage, the bravery to share your feelings with someone. If you don't have close family or friends, you might explore local support groups where people share experiences related to loss, health issues, or simply aging itself. Therapy or counseling can be pivotal. Speaking with a mental health professional provides a safe space to process your worries. Even writing in a journal about your day and then discussing it with a trusted confidant can fortify that emotional connection. Always remember, if emotional wounds aren't addressed, they can bleed into your physical health in more ways than you'd imagine. 4. Irregular sleep patterns. Most people think of sleep as a passive state, but the body uses those hours to reset critical systems. After age 70, a consistent bedtime and wake-up routine is vital to maintaining stable heart function, hormonal balance, and mental clarity. If you're going to sleep at random hours, napping excessively, or using electronic screens right before bed, you could be priming yourself for morning spikes in blood pressure or chronic fatigue. The Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine 2017 documented that older adults with disrupted sleeping habits had higher incidences of stroke and memory loss. Thus, a reliable sleep schedule is not a luxury, it's a form of medicine. During deep sleep, your body repairs cells, clears toxins from the brain, and balances hormones that regulate appetite, stress, and immune function. When sleep is fragmented or inconsistent, these processes get cut short. The result: you wake up feeling groggy, your blood sugar regulation might falter, and you're more susceptible to mood swings or even depressive episodes. This puts extra strain on your heart, especially if you already have underlying issues like hypertension. Do you enjoy staying up late, perhaps watching TV or scrolling on your phone? That nightly habit could set off a hidden chain reaction that leaves you vulnerable in the early hours of the morning, a known high-risk window for heart and circulatory events. Imagine dozing off at 3 a.m. only to have your system jolted awake at 7 a.m. for a doctor's appointment. Your circadian rhythms never stabilize. Over time, you're essentially playing a game of Russian roulette with your cardiovascular health. Meet Eleanor, 76, who believed naps could make up for her late-night screen time. She ended up sleeping in patches, an hour here, 2 hours there, never achieving the consistent deep stages of rest. Within months, she noticed her ability to focus had plunged, and she experienced sudden dizziness. Her physician linked these symptoms to erratic sleep, and once she started following a bedtime schedule, her episodes diminished. The first step is picking a specific bedtime and sticking to it even on weekends. Turn off electronics at least 1 hour before lights out to let your mind wind down naturally. Consider a calming bedtime routine, such as reading a lighthearted book or listening to relaxing music. If you're still restless, consult your physician or a sleep specialist to rule out disorders like sleep apnea. Remember, quality rest is where your body and brain execute their most crucial repairs. 5. Emotional withdrawal, a deeper disengagement. You might wonder how this differs from emotional isolation. Emotional withdrawal happens when you systematically stop engaging with life's pleasures, even small ones, and lose interest in future plans or events. This can occur after a major life shift like the loss of a spouse, or it can creep up gradually when you stop valuing personal hobbies. Over time, withdrawal becomes a habit that deprives you of daily motivation. Biologically, when someone withdraws emotionally, the body falls into a low stimulation state, which can trigger a negative feedback loop. With each passing day, your neurotransmitters related to joy, excitement, and curiosity may decline. This often results in diminished appetite, neglect of personal hygiene, and further deterioration of health. The American Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry 2019 found that severe emotional withdrawal correlates with higher morbidity in seniors, especially those with pre-existing heart conditions. Put another way, the less reason you feel you have to live, the more susceptible you become to illnesses that can cut your life short. The scariest part is how subtle and silent this process is. You may not realize it's happening until a serious physical problem arises, and by then your emotional resilience is so depleted that recovery becomes incredibly hard. That's how emotional shutdown paves the way for an accelerated end. Richard, 80, had been an avid gardener for decades. After his best friend passed, he stopped tending his plants gradually, losing the daily spark that kept him going. His diet slipped, and he experienced frequent digestive issues that worsened because he saw little point in seeking medical help. By the time his family intervened, Richard was fighting multiple ailments that might have been avoided if he had addressed his emotional state earlier. Reintroduce purpose into your life. Try a new activity like painting, gardening, or writing letters to loved ones. Volunteer in small capacities, whether at a local library, community center, or an online mentoring program. Regularly schedule outings or phone calls with friends to share updates on each other's lives. If hopelessness persists, consult your physician or a mental health professional because emotional problems can be as urgent as physical ones. Call to comment. Have you ever noticed this sign? Comment I feel it if you relate I'm safe if not. And add a question for the doctor. The reason I'm asking is that awareness often begins with a confession of where we currently stand. When we openly acknowledge our situation, whether it's social isolation, lack of movement, or emotional withdrawal, we take the first step to rectifying the problem. 3. The missing spark and how we fix it. Note the original source material touched on issues but didn't offer a structured challenge. We'll introduce a 7-day blueprint to combat these red flags. Let's face it, knowledge alone doesn't always spark change. That's why I've created a 7-day plan to help you actively tackle these hidden hazards. It's a simple, shareable framework that you can follow in your daily life, and you can pass it along to your friends. By the end of the week, you'll have concrete proof that small steps produce tangible benefits. The goal is to address both physical and emotional health in brief, manageable chunks. You won't be running marathons or hosting huge parties. Instead, you'll make small, strategic adjustments that tell your body I'm alive, I'm engaged, and I'm still in control. Let's walk through it day by day. Action Plan 7-day checklist. Day 1, connection checkpoint. Pick up the phone and call at least one person you haven't spoken to in over a month. If calling is difficult, write an email or message, anything to reestablish a sincere connection. Tell them something you appreciate about them or ask about their life. This step addresses social isolation by gently pushing you out of the "I'm doing fine" shell. You might be amazed at how even a short conversation can uplift your mood and remind your body it isn't alone. Day 2, movement initiation. Begin your morning with 5 minutes of gentle stretches. Focus on your neck, shoulders, and hips. If you're already mobile, add a short walk down the driveway, around the block, or through the hallway. If you live in an apartment complex, the idea is to declare war on that sedentary routine and set the tone for the rest of the week. According to the WHO 2010 guidelines, even minor physical activity can substantially reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease in older adults. Day 3, emotional outreach. Set aside 10 minutes to think about one emotion you've been avoiding, grief, worry, or even excitement, and share it with someone. It could be a friend, family member, or counselor. The goal is to express something deeper than "I'm okay" to combat emotional isolation. If you're uncomfortable confiding in someone else, write your feelings in a journal. Acknowledging them can free you from the mounting pressure of bottled up stress. Day 4, structured sleep. Choose a bedtime and wake-up time and commit to them for the rest of the week. Turn off all screens 30 minutes before bed. Instead of TV, read a book or listen to soft music. This practice aims to correct irregular sleep patterns by synchronizing your circadian rhythm. Over time, consistent rest can stabilize your mood, improve your cardiovascular health, and bolster your immune system. Day 5, rediscover joy. Reflect on a hobby or interest you once enjoyed but have let slip away. Spend at least 20 minutes engaging in that activity. Whether it's baking, painting, or dancing, this step specifically targets emotional withdrawal. By reconnecting with a source of joy, you remind yourself that life isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. Day 6, social accountability. Invite a neighbor, friend, or family member to join you for a walk, a meal, or a simple cup of tea. Share your progress from the previous days. Tell them about your reactivated hobby or how your improved sleep is helping you. Humans are social beings, and sharing your journey enhances its positive impact. This addresses both social and emotional isolation by solidifying a bond and creating an environment where others cheer you on. Even if you can't meet in person, a scheduled phone call or video chat can offer the same benefits. Day 7, ongoing plan and reflection. On the final day, take 15 minutes to journal about how you feel both physically and emotionally compared to day 1. If you notice even slight improvements, that's your cue to keep going. If some tasks felt cumbersome, modify them but don't abandon them. Discuss your next steps with a healthcare professional. If you have any chronic conditions that need specialized attention, this day is about transforming a 1-week effort into a new lifestyle commitment. Additional strategies and reasons to act now. Time is precious, particularly when certain patterns have already begun to take root in your life. Each day you delay can compound the damage, making a minor condition balloon into a potentially life-threatening problem. Putting off action can mean missing the window to prevent a heart attack or stroke risk from climbing even higher. The sooner you disrupt these negative habits, the more likely you'll reclaim energy, mental clarity, and emotional resilience. Remember, nothing in this guide replaces professional care. Always consult your physician before starting new exercises or making drastic dietary shifts. Your doctor can help you personalize these strategies, ensuring they mesh with any pre-existing conditions or medications. Credibility and trust quotes from experts. Chronic loneliness should be approached like any other public health threat, says Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, Director General of the WHO 2019 conference. He emphasizes that social support systems are as crucial to well-being as access to medical care. This means that community-level programs, family outreach, and volunteer networks aren't just nice-to-haves. They're essential. If you've neglected these resources, you're missing a key pillar of longevity. Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, study published in 2018, points out that older adults who incorporate 30 minutes of moderate activity 5 days a week can reduce the risk of heart complications and stroke by up to 20%. That's a powerful number. Even low-intensity exercises such as gentle stretching and slow walking can provide benefits. The real secret is consistency. Your body craves routine just as much as it craves nutrients. Emotional neglect is more lethal than people realize, notes Dr. Michael Greger, NutritionFacts.org 2020. He explains that the stress hormones triggered by ongoing loneliness and withdrawal can undermine even the best diet and medication plan. The mind and body work as one. If your emotional state suffers, your physical health typically suffers too. And if your emotional well runs dry, no amount of vitamins or short-term remedies can fill the void. This underscores why your social and emotional health matter just as much as your workout regimen or meal plan. Virality enhancers. Additional stories in the 24-hour challenge. Let's look at Barbara, a 75-year-old grandmother who seemed to be the life of every party. Yet behind closed doors, she hadn't slept well for months, constantly tossed and turned, and then compensated with daytime naps. This erratic pattern eroded her alertness, resulting in a minor kitchen accident that could have been catastrophic if her son hadn't arrived in time. Barbara's physician highlighted that a stable sleep schedule could have likely prevented this dangerous slip in attention. Ray, age 82, was well known in his community for volunteering at local charities. Then he got injured and stayed home for weeks where his movement dropped to almost zero. Before long, that fleeting period of bed rest escalated into severe muscle weakness that forced him into a rehabilitation program far from the comforts of his house. If you want to see just how impactful small changes can be, I challenge you to a single day of radical awareness. Spend the next 24 hours tracking everything: how often you connect with people, how much you move your body, your emotional highs and lows, and how well or poorly you sleep. By the end of that short window, you'll have a snapshot of whether these harmful patterns are sneaking in. This one-day mirror can serve as a catalyst to break inertia and dive into the 7-day plan with conviction. Start first thing in the morning by writing down your mood and energy level. Each time you sit for longer than an hour, jot that down. If you feel alone or disconnected, mark the time and circumstance. By bedtime, your log will reveal critical patterns that if ignored could be a direct path to premature decline, sustaining momentum, follow-up, and long-term wellness. Schedule routine health evaluations at least every 6 months or as recommended by your physician. These visits can uncover early shifts in blood pressure, cholesterol, and other vital markers that might reflect the toll of hidden dangers in your daily habits. A small uptick in your heart rate or a sudden drop in your weight can be the body's way of alerting you. Acting on these red flags early can prevent a full-blown crisis later. Consider forming a wellness group. This could be an in-person gathering at a local senior center or an online forum where you and others share weekly goals and accomplishments. Maybe you and a few friends commit to the same bedtime or the same walking routine. Social accountability can keep your motivation from fizzling out. When you see others thrive under the same regimen, you'll feel more inclined to persist. Such support networks can also step in if you miss a day, reminding you gently that your health is a communal project, not a lone endeavor. While our focus is on isolation, inactivity, sleep, and emotional states, don't overlook diet. A balanced, nutrient-rich meal plan can bolster your immune system and elevate your mood, making it easier to tackle these lifestyle changes. Consult your physician or a registered dietitian for personalized advice. Always monitor your fluid intake. Dehydration can aggravate circulatory issues, raise the risk of kidney problems, and worsen feelings of fatigue. If you're on any medication, never skip doses or stop them without professional oversight. Remember, no online tips should replace your physician's instructions. Often people feel a bit better after a few days of positive change and think they don't need their meds anymore. That decision done unilaterally can be dangerous, so always consult your doctor first. Extending your health span more than just living longer. While longevity matters, how you experience those years is equally crucial. You don't want to spend them in a haze of hospital visits and chronic aches, right? That's why it's vital to tackle not just one, but all 5 hidden hazards. Social isolation, lack of movement, emotional isolation, irregular sleep, and emotional withdrawal. Together, they form an interwoven net that can drag down your life quality and your survival odds. Everything we've discussed, from your emotional well-being to your sleep schedule, affects the rest of your body. Picture your health as a network of roads. A blockage in one area leads to traffic jams that can spill onto every other road. Stress about loneliness can cause sleep disturbances. Sleep disturbances can hinder your desire to move. Before you know it, you're in a chronic cycle that starves your spirit and accelerates physical decline. If this all sounds terrifying, that's partially by design. Fear is a compelling starting point, but let it transform into determination. Each day you neglect these red flags is like stepping on a crack in the foundation of your house. One day the entire structure could collapse. If, however, you address the cracks early, you can fortify your emotional and physical home to withstand the storms of aging. Dangers of delay. Staying alert to warning signs. Early symptoms like mild fatigue or slight forgetfulness can escalate into severe memory lapses or mobility impairments if you delay action. If you feel even a tiny drop in stamina, like shortness of breath, climbing stairs, that might indicate you need more consistent exercise. If you find yourself just not in the mood for days on end, that might be creeping emotional withdrawal. The longer you wait, the deeper these habits root themselves. Heart attacks and strokes often strike without fanfare, especially in older adults who've spent years ignoring these quiet signals. By the time you sense chest discomfort or sudden weakness, the underlying issues might already be advanced. Emergency room interventions can be life-saving, but you risk permanent complications like reduced mobility, cognitive deficits, or lingering pain. The best treatment is prevention, and that begins by taking small steps now. If you suspect that your feelings of isolation or withdrawal are morphing into depression or chronic anxiety, consult a mental health professional. For those noticing severe shortness of breath, rapid heartbeat, or dizzy spells, schedule a checkup to rule out cardiac or neurological issues. Don't self-diagnose. You might miss critical nuances that only a trained physician can catch. Testing can reveal whether you have underlying conditions, diabetes, thyroid imbalances, or arrhythmias that might be intensifying your symptoms. Early detection is your ally. To a 7-day challenge. Feedback and sharing. If you've tried the 7-day plan, share your outcomes with at least one friend or family member. Spreading the word helps others who might be teetering on the brink of the same dangers. You can also post your experience on social media or in community forums. Let people know that seniors are stronger together when we face these hidden threats. Encouragement from peers often fuels long-term commitment. Once you finish that initial week, you'll see certain tasks become second nature. Maybe you'll automatically reach for the phone to call a loved one each day, or you'll incorporate a gentle stretch before bedtime without thinking twice. That's the real power of habit when positive changes become automatic. Your health metrics often stabilize and your mood improves. Keep layering new healthy practices over the old ones until you build a fortress of wellness. Just as you keep your body moving, you need to challenge your brain. Try crosswords, Sudoku, or memory games, anything that gets you thinking critically. Cognitive exercises enhance neuroplasticity, giving your mind the flexibility to fend off decline. Combine this with social interaction, like playing card games with friends, to address both mental acuity and emotional engagement simultaneously. Again, consult your physician if you notice concerning lapses in memory. Make small modifications in your home to encourage movement and reduce risks. For instance, place frequently used items on higher shelves so you have to stand and reach for them. Add supportive rugs and railings in areas where you might lose balance. When your environment nudges you to stay active, you're far less likely to slip into a completely sedentary routine. Don't just rely on family. You can also lean on neighbors, former colleagues, or people from local interest groups. Even if you're less mobile, an online community can serve as a lifeline. One conversation a day can make a difference in staving off emotional or social isolation. It's about maintaining that spark of curiosity and connection day after day. If your existing circle is small, consider volunteering via telephone or internet-based services that link seniors with community programs. If you're wondering why now, the straightforward answer is that time waits for no one. Each moment that you remain stuck in detrimental habits, you risk compounding their effects. Nothing is trivial after 70 because the margin for error narrows. By adopting even one or two of the recommended shifts, you could dramatically elevate your quality of life. Lingering health problems lead to more doctor visits, more medication, and potentially expensive hospital stays. Whether you rely on Medicare or private insurance, medical bills can skyrocket if a small issue becomes a major condition. Think of your health as an investment. A few minutes of mindful activity or social connection each day can save you thousands in future healthcare costs. More importantly, it saves you from the emotional toll of battling severe ailments. Fear is often seen as a negative emotion, but in controlled doses, it can be the nudge you need to act. If the thought of a stroke or heart trouble motivates you to follow a consistent sleep schedule and reconnect with family, then harness that fear for good. Remember, the best part about these hidden dangers is that you have the power to limit their impact by recognizing them and responding early. Each conscious decision you make counters decades of unhealthy patterns. Before we move to our closing summary, I want to remind you about our earlier call to comment. Have you ever noticed this sign? Comment, "I feel it." If you do, I'm safe. If not, and add a question for the doctor. Your experiences could inspire someone else who's on the fence about making a life-changing move. Let's quickly recap the central points first. Social isolation and lack of movement each create fertile ground for bigger medical problems, from minor infections to possible heart complications. Second, emotional isolation and withdrawal can lower your body's defenses and rob you of the motivation to engage in preventive care. Third, irregular sleep patterns disrupt your natural healing cycles, leaving you prone to everything from mood swings to stroke. If you notice these red flags, don't wait, take them seriously. Small, consistent actions can reverse or stall the damage before it becomes irreversible. Here are your final takeaways in 3 quick bullet points. Check your connections. Reaching out to even one person can anchor your health. Keep moving. Frequent, gentle exercise signals your body to stay resilient. Mind your rest. Structured sleep schedules give your heart and brain a fighting chance. If this script has opened your eyes to the hidden dangers lurking behind everyday habits, please hit the like button. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss vital information that could protect your well-being. Share this video with anyone who might be at risk, including friends, family, or neighbors. Your support helps spread these life-saving messages. Now let me pose one final question. What's the first tiny step you're going to take today to change your life's trajectory? Let us know in the comments, because your commitment might just motivate someone else to face these silent threats head-on. Thank you for watching, and remember, none of this replaces professional advice. Consult your physician for personalized guidance. Stay vigilant and keep nurturing every aspect of your health.